Some places in the world feel untouched, raw, powerful, and almost unreal. Wyoming is one of those places. Here, nature doesn't adapt to humans. Humans adapt to nature. Vast plains stretch for miles without a single sign of civilization. Mountains rise sharply into the sky, cutting through clouds and silence. In the distance, herds of bison move slowly across the land, just as they did hundreds of years ago. Wolves roam freely, hidden in the wilderness, while geysers suddenly erupt from the ground, releasing the power beneath the earth. This is not a controlled environment. This is not a theme park. This is one of the last places in America where the wild still feels truly alive. Welcome to Wyoming. At the heart of Wyoming lies one of the most powerful and unpredictable places on Earth, Yellowstone National Park. This is not just a natural reserve. This entire landscape exists because of a massive supervolcano hidden deep beneath the surface. Everything you see here, the mountains, the valleys, and the rivers, has been shaped by forces far beyond human control. The ground itself is alive. In some areas, steam rises constantly from cracks in the earth, as if the planet is breathing. Geysers erupt without warning, launching boiling water high into the sky. Some of them last only seconds, while others, like the famous Old Faithful, follow a more predictable rhythm. Hot springs scatter across the land, glowing in intense colors, deep blues, bright oranges, and toxic greens. These colors are not just beauty, but signs of extreme conditions where only specialized microorganisms can survive. But Yellowstone is not only about what lies beneath the ground. Above it, one of the most complex ecosystems in North America continues to exist almost unchanged. Vast valleys open between forests and rivers, creating ideal conditions for wildlife. Large herds of bison move slowly across the plains, often blocking roads and reminding visitors that this land does not belong to humans. Elk gather in groups, especially during colder seasons, migrating across the landscape in search of food. Moose stay closer to rivers and wetlands, moving quietly through water and dense vegetation. And deeper in the wilderness, predators still control the balance. Wolves, once nearly extinct in this region, have returned and reshaped the entire ecosystem. By hunting large herbivores, they prevent overgrazing, allowing forests and plant life to recover. Grizzly bears roam vast territories, powerful and unpredictable, often appearing near rivers where food is more available. This balance between predator and prey is what keeps Yellowstone alive. Nothing here exists in isolation. Every movement, every hunt, every season affects everything else. The rivers that flow through the park are cold, fast, and clear. They cut through valleys, reflect mountains, and provide life to everything around them. Fish like trout thrive in these waters, supporting both animals and the ecosystem as a whole. The climate here is harsh and unpredictable. Winters are long and brutal, covering the land in deep snow. Summers are short but full of life, as animals take advantage of the brief warmth to prepare for the cold ahead. Fires, storms, and extreme weather are all part of this system. Even destruction has a purpose, clearing old growth and making space for new life. During early mornings, Yellowstone feels completely different. Mist rises above rivers and valleys, creating a quiet, almost unreal atmosphere. In these moments, the wilderness feels untouched, as if time has slowed down. Seasonal changes transform the landscape dramatically. In autumn, forests turn golden, and the sound of elk echoes across the valleys. In winter, heavy snow forces animals to adapt or migrate. Only the strongest survive these extreme conditions. There is also a constant sense of tension here. Beneath the surface, pressure is always building. Small earthquakes happen regularly, reminding us that the ground is never truly still. Hydrothermal areas can change without warning. Safe paths can become dangerous as the earth opens new vents and boiling water shifts closer to the surface. Even the air can change. In some places, the smell of sulfur fills the atmosphere, a direct sign of the volcanic activity below. At night, Yellowstone becomes even more intense. With almost no artificial light, the sky reveals a clear view of the stars. The silence deepens, broken only by distant animal calls or the quiet sound of geothermal activity. In these moments, the true scale of this place becomes clear. This is not just a park, it is a living, active system that operates far beyond human control. And despite millions of visitors every year, most of Yellowstone remains wild and untouched. Large areas are rarely seen by humans, allowing nature to exist exactly as it has for centuries. This is what makes Yellowstone truly unique. It is one of the last places where the natural world still follows its own rules. Here, the wild is still in control. Just south of Yellowstone lies one of the most dramatic landscapes in the entire United States. Welcome to Grand Teton National Park, a place where the mountains don't gradually rise from the earth, but erupt from it. Unlike most mountain ranges, the Tetons have no foothills. The peaks launch almost vertically from the flat floor of Jackson Hole Valley, creating a wall of jagged granite that seems almost impossible. The tallest of these, Grand Teton itself, reaches nearly 14,000 feet above sea level. But what makes the view so striking isn't just the height, it's the contrast. On one side, a perfectly flat valley. On the other, a cathedral of ancient rock carved by glaciers over millions of years. The geology here tells a violent story. About 9 million years ago, two tectonic plates began shifting, one pushing upward, one sinking down. The result was a fault line that created both the mountains and the valleys simultaneously. As the Tetons rose, the valley floor dropped. Even today, the land is still moving. Scientists estimate that over its lifetime, the range has risen over 30,000 feet, most of that buried underground. What we see above the surface is only a fraction of the true scale. Water shapes everything in this park. The Snake River winds through the valley floor, flanked by cottonwood trees and home to moose, beavers, and river otters. Above the tree line, dozens of alpine lakes sit in glacier-carved bowls, called cirques. Jenny Lake, one of the most visited, sits directly at the foot of the mountains, reflecting the peaks so perfectly that on a calm morning, you almost can't tell where the mountains end and the water begins. Wildlife here is abundant and visible. Grand Teton is part of the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, one of the last nearly intact temperate ecosystems on Earth. Herds of elk migrate through the valley seasonally. Grizzly bears roam the forests and meadows. Wolves, reintroduced in the 1990s, have quietly reshaped the behavior of entire animal populations. Pronghorn, the fastest land animal in the Western Hemisphere, sprint across the open flats at speeds that seem impossible for something living at altitude. The seasons transform Grand Teton completely. Spring brings snowmelt and chaos rivers flood. Wildflowers push through frozen ground, and newborn animals take their first steps in meadows still dusted with late snow. Summer opens every trail and brings long golden evenings where the light hits the peaks at an angle that makes them glow like heated metal. Fall may be the most spectacular of all. Aspen groves ignite in deep yellow and orange. Elk fill the valley with their calls during mating season. And the first snow caps the summits weeks before it reaches the valley floor. Winter closes most of the park to vehicles, but those who arrive on skis or snowshoes find something rare, total solitude, in one of the most beautiful places on the planet. The park also carries deep human history. For thousands of years, Native American tribes, including the Shoshone and Bannock, hunted and gathered throughout this valley. They named it well, the landscape demands respect. European trappers arrived in the early 1800s, drawn by the beaver trade. French-speaking hunters gave the mountains their current name, Les Trois Tétons, meaning the three nipples. Not exactly poetic, but the name stuck. Today, the park draws millions of visitors who come to hike, climb, kayak, and simply stand at the edge of the valley and stare. The Cathedral Group, a cluster of the sharpest peaks, is considered one of the finest alpine climbing areas in North America. Technical routes on these walls have defined careers and, in some cases, ended lives. The mountains are beautiful, but they are not forgiving. What makes Grand Teton unique among America's national parks is how raw it feels. There is very little between you and the wilderness here. You can drive through the valley, pull over, and watch a black bear cross a meadow 50 meters from your car. You can sit by a river at sunset and hear nothing except water and wind. This is Wyoming stripped to its most essential sky: stone, water, and silence. There are landscapes that stop you mid-sentence. Devil's Tower is one of them. Rising 1,267 feet above the Belle Fourche River in northeastern Wyoming, this massive column of rock looks less like something that grew from the earth and more like something that was placed here deliberately, impossibly, by forces that had no interest in explanation. It is the kind of landmark that makes you feel small, not because of its size alone, but because of its sheer wrongness. Nothing around it prepares you for it. The surrounding terrain is gentle rolling plains, pine forests, a quiet river, and then, without warning, a vertical tower of stone. Devil's Tower was the first national monument in the United States, declared by President Theodore Roosevelt in 1906. That designation alone tells you something. Even a century ago, people recognized that this place existed outside the normal categories of landscape. The geology is as strange as the appearance. Devil's Tower formed roughly 50 million years ago when magma pushed up through the Earth's crust but never broke the surface. It cooled slowly underground, contracting as it hardened. That contraction created the iconic vertical columns, some up to 600 feet tall, that give the tower its unmistakable rib silhouette. Over millions of years, the softer rock surrounding it eroded away, leaving the harder igneous core exposed. What you see today is essentially the root of an ancient volcanic intrusion, standing alone after everything around it dissolved. The columns are not uniform. They crack and fracture in hexagonal and pentagonal patterns, creating a surface that looks almost engineered like something assembled by hand rather than formed by pressure and time. Climbers have been scaling these cracks since the 1890s. Today, hundreds of technical climbers attempt the tower every year, working their way up vertical crack systems using a technique called crack climbing, jamming hands and feet into the fractures to gain height inch by inch. But for many people, Devil's Tower is not primarily a climbing destination. It is a sacred site. More than 20 Native American tribes have deep cultural and spiritual connections to this place. The Lakota call it Bear Lodge. The Kiowa call it Soa, Tree Rock. The Cheyenne have their own name, their own stories. Across nearly every tradition, the tower appears in origin stories, a place where the earth itself reached upward, or where people were lifted to safety, or where the boundary between the human world and the spirit world grows thin. One of the most widespread stories describes a group of girls chased by bears. They climbed onto a rock and prayed for protection. The rock rose beneath them, carrying them out of reach. The bears clawed at the sides trying to climb, and their scratches became the columns. Whether you read this as mythology or metaphor, the image is hard to shake when you stand at the base and look up at those vertical grooves running the full height of the tower. Out of respect for these traditions, the National Park Service asks climbers to voluntarily avoid the tower during the month of June, when many tribal ceremonies take place. Most climbers comply. It is one of the quieter examples of two very different ways of relating to the same piece of rock, one physical, one spiritual, managing to coexist. Devil's Tower has also left its mark on popular culture in ways that are impossible to ignore. In 1977, Steven Spielberg chose this location as the centerpiece of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the film where ordinary people across America become obsessed with a shape they can't explain, driven by something pulling them toward Wyoming. The choice was not accidental. There is something about Devil's Tower that already feels like first contact, something that makes the brain search for a category and find nothing. The film only made permanent what many visitors already feel standing at the base, that this place does not belong entirely to the ordinary world. At dusk, when the light drops low and the tower turns from gray to amber to a deep burnt red, the arguments about geology and mythology start to feel beside the point. Something happened here. The rock remembers it. And whether you came to climb, to pray, or simply to stand and stare, Devil's Tower has a way of making you feel like you arrived exactly where you were supposed to be. There is a place in the southwestern corner of Wyoming where the earth splits open and burns red. Flaming Gorge is not as famous as Yellowstone. It doesn't have the name recognition of Grand Teton, but those who find it tend to remember it longer than either. This is a landscape of slow revelation, a place that reveals itself gradually, layer by layer, the way a story does when it's told by someone who knows exactly when to pause. The gorge was named in 1869 by John Wesley Powell, a one-armed Civil War veteran who led the first scientific expedition down the Green River. Powell was not given to exaggeration. When he looked at the canyon walls glowing red in the afternoon sun and called it Flaming Gorge, he was simply being accurate. The sandstone here contains high concentrations of iron oxide, the same compound that makes rust red. When sunlight hits those walls at the right angle, they don't just reflect light, they seem to generate it. The Green River carved this canyon over millions of years, cutting through layer after layer of sedimentary rock. What those layers reveal is essentially a timeline of the Earth itself. The oldest exposed rock at the bottom of the gorge is nearly 1 billion years old. The layers above it record the slow accumulation of ancient seas, deserts, and floodplains, each stripe of color representing a different chapter in the planet's history. Geologists come here the way historians visit archives. The answers are all here, written in stone. In 1964, the Flaming Gorge Dam was completed, creating the Flaming Gorge Reservoir, a 1-mile stretch of blue water that winds through the Red Canyon like something from another planet. The contrast is violent and beautiful, crimson walls dropping straight into clear blue water, desert rock meeting a surface so calm it mirrors the sky perfectly. From above, the reservoir looks like a turquoise thread stitched through a wound in the earth. The dam changed the ecosystem permanently. The cold, clear water released from the bottom of the reservoir created conditions that never existed naturally in the Green River, and with them, a world-class fishery. Rainbow trout, brown trout, and lake trout thrive in these waters in sizes that draw serious anglers from across the country. The record lake trout caught here weighed over 51 pounds. The fishing is not incidental to Flaming Gorge. For many people, it is the entire reason to come. Beyond fishing, the reservoir itself becomes a playground unlike anything else in Wyoming. Kayakers and paddleboarders push out into water so still in the early morning that every stroke sounds loud. Houseboats anchor in hidden coves where canyon walls rise on 3 sides, and the only sky visible is a narrow strip directly above. Jet skiers carve white lines across the blue surface, while overhead the red cliffs stand completely indifferent to the noise below. The water brings a different kind of visitor to Flaming Gorge people who came for the desert and stayed for the lake. But the gorge rewards more than fishermen. The canyon walls are home to peregrine falcons, the fastest animals on Earth, capable of diving at over 240 miles per hour. Bighorn sheep navigate the vertical faces with an ease that seems to defy physics. Osprey patrol the reservoir surface, dropping feet first into the water to take fish with a precision that no human angler can match. The road that runs along the rim of the gorge offers viewpoints that stop traffic. Not metaphorically, people genuinely pull over and stand at the edge in silence, trying to process what they're seeing. The canyon drops hundreds of feet below. The reservoir winds through it in curves so smooth they look drawn. The color of the walls shifts as clouds move overhead from deep burgundy to burnt orange to a pink so pale it barely exists. Flaming Gorge does not demand your attention the way some landscapes do. It doesn't erupt or tower or overwhelm on first glance. It earns your attention slowly, the way the best things usually do. You arrive, you look, and then you look again, and somewhere between the second and third look, you realize you've stopped thinking about anything else entirely. That is the particular power of this place. It doesn't ask you to be impressed. It simply waits patient as the rock itself until you are. There are places in America where the modern world simply stops, not fades, not then stops. Wind River Range is one of those places. Stretching over 100 miles through the heart of Wyoming, the Wind Rivers are the longest continuous mountain range in the Rocky Mountains. They contain more than 40 peaks above 13,000 feet, over 2,000 lakes, and approximately 300 glaciers, the largest concentration of glaciers in the American Rockies outside of Alaska. And yet, compared to Yellowstone or Grand Teton, almost nobody talks about them. There are no entrance gates here, no visitor centers, no designated parking lots with signs pointing you toward the view. You either know about the Wind Rivers or you don't. and the people who know tend to guard that knowledge carefully. This is Wyoming's wilderness in its most uncompromised form. The Bridger Wilderness on the western side and the Popo-Agi Wilderness on the east are part of one of the largest roadless areas in the continental United States. There are no paved roads into the interior, no lodges, no cell service. To reach the heart of the range, you walk. Some routes require 3 or 4 days of hiking before you reach the places most worth seeing. That barrier is not accidental, and it is precisely what keeps the Wind Rivers what they are. The landscape inside is almost hallucinatory in its beauty. Alpine lakes so clear you can count the rocks 20 feet below the surface. Meadows ringed by granite walls that turn pink at sunrise and orange at dusk. Streams running so cold and fast that crossing them in summer requires careful thought. The Cirque of the Towers, a horseshoe of jagged granite peaks surrounding a high alpine basin, is considered by many mountaineers to be the most spectacular concentration of rock in North America. Photographs of it look fabricated, the kind of image you assume has been enhanced until you stand inside it and realize the camera actually undersells it. The glaciers here are among the most studied in North America, not because they are the largest, but because they are disappearing fast enough to measure year by year. Fremont Glacier, one of the most accessible, has lost roughly 50% of its mass since the 1950s. Scientists use it as a reference point for tracking climate change across the entire Rocky Mountain region. The ice that remains is ancient. Some of it formed thousands of years ago, compressing snow into blue glacial ice, so dense it absorbs red light and reflects only blue. Standing next to it, you are looking at water that fell as snow before recorded history began. Wildlife in the Wind Rivers operates on its own schedule, entirely indifferent to human presence. Grizzly bears move through the northern sections of the range, following food sources across elevations as the seasons shift. Mountain goats occupy the highest ridgelines, seemingly unbothered by the exposure. Cutthroat trout, the native trout of the Rocky Mountains, fill the high lakes in numbers that seem impossible given how cold and oxygen-thin the water is. Peregrine falcons nest on the granite faces. Moose wade through the willow flats in the valley bottoms with a slowness that suggests they have nowhere to be and no reason to hurry. The Wind Rivers have drawn climbers for generations. Gannett Peak, Wyoming's highest point at 13,809 feet, sits deep in the range, requiring a multi-day approach just to reach its base. The routes on its faces are serious technical climbs in a serious technical environment. Weather here changes without warning. Afternoon thunderstorms roll in fast and hit hard. Snow can fall in any month of the year. The mountains do not adjust to the people who come to climb them. The people adjust to the mountains, or they turn back. For those who come without climbing ambitions, who come simply to walk and sleep under skies with no light pollution for 100 miles in any direction, the Wind Rivers offer something increasingly rare in the modern world: genuine quiet. The kind of quiet where you hear your own heartbeat, where a conversation conducted at normal volume feels intrusive, where the absence of notifications and signals and background noise becomes, after a day or two, not an inconvenience but a relief so deep it feels physical. Wyoming has many landscapes that demand your attention. The Wind Rivers demand something different. They demand your time, your effort, your willingness to carry everything you need on your back, and trust that what waits at the end of the trail is worth the wait. It always is. Wyoming is not a state that performs for you. It doesn't need to. The landscapes here exist entirely on their own terms, ancient, indifferent, and completely indifferent to whether you show up or not. But if you do show up, if you make the drive, take the trail, cross the river, climb the ridge, Wyoming will show you something that most people spend their entire lives never seeing. A version of the world that existed long before us and will exist long after. From the geysers of Yellowstone to the silence of Wind River Range, this is a place that reminds you how small you are. And somehow, that feeling, that smallness, is exactly what makes it so worth seeking. This is Wyoming, and it is extraordinary.